Alright, I'm still using Prism, as you can probably tell from the watermark. I assume it's there. I cannot see it. Because I cannot be asked to set up the YouTube app. The only upside of using Prism is that it's actually 30 FPS, although the quality of the video is so low you're not really watching it anyway, even if you are. But funny thing is, yeah, I think I bitched about it a couple times already. The YouTube app streams at like literally 24 FPS tops. It looks very choppy in motion. I mean, probably if you have your phone on on a tripod, it's alrighty. But in motion, I mean, if you think this is bad, the YouTube app streams like literally it looks like slideshow. Mine is, can you even delete it from Android? I don't think you can uninstall it, but it's definitely disabled because like I'm not using it. Like, who the fuck uses it? Why don't you just use your browser? Like, I don't understand. Why would you want a YouTube app where you cannot escape the ads, that doesn't have proper settings for anything? I don't know. Anyway, maybe on iOS where Mozilla is not real Mozilla anyway, it's just Safari. Yeah, but on Android, Firefox is actual Firefox. So, yeah, of course, it's superior in every single way to the YouTube app. Anyway, so I watched that video, some guy's video the other day. I don't remember, I think it popped in the recommended after, I think I might have been, I was probably watching something by Worth to Buy, maybe the non-Silent Hill game that recently came out, the Fatal Frame one, with the Homecoming combat system. So that's nice. That's exactly what we all wanted. Very obvious that it was never supposed to be a Silent Hill game. It was super obvious that it was basically, even from the combat system alone, you can see that it's just studio from Hong Kong, right? They just wanted to make their own kind of like brand of like Hellblade, essentially. You can see it from the nature of the combat system, and then somebody knew, like somebody who used to work at Konami or whatever they ended up landing a contract with them, and they literally just slapped Silent Hill on top of the thing. Because I've not played the game, obviously, because why would I? But I've seen enough. I'm pretty sure the words Silent Hill, or rather the term Silent Hill, the actual words might be in the game, but not next to each other. And the actual term Silent Hill, like, that's not even in the game. Like, there is nothing of Silent Hill about that game. Which is ironic, because every other Silent Hill, like, no matter how spin-offy, it was, at the end of the day, kind of about Silent Hill, right? Even if I believe, I actually don't remember the specifics, but I think the playable teaser, the Kojima's playable teaser, I think even had something to do with Silent Hill. I think there were some connections other than just the name. Well, anyway, so the dude was basically talking about how improper skin shaders, or just shaders in general, basically completely ruined his life in gaming. I think the video was titled something like "Modern Video Game Graphics Like Suck" or whatever, something like that. And I clicked on it because I agree. Yeah, I think modern video game graphics are actually rather terrible, because it's basically just PS4 graphics, but they, sometimes they don't even run better. And they literally, all they do is the system requirements are like 10 times as much, right? But the graphics are basically the same. Like the graphics that we have right now in modern video games, like my game of the year, for example, pretty much my game of the generation is Indiana Slops and the Great Fucking Circle of Dialysis. That game looks like it easily could have been on PS4. Yeah, sure, it would have run at 30 FPS at PS4, but everything ran at 30 FPS at PS4. It would have been totally acceptable, right? It absolutely would have been something running at 60 FPS on the computers of 10 years ago, and there's absolutely no need. There's absolutely no reason for why an RTX GPU is needed for that game. Like, there's zero necessity for that. Well, there's technical necessity, obviously, you know, for ray tracing, but that shit does absolutely nothing for that game. Yeah, lighting is pretty okay. Lighting is pretty okay in Indiana Jones, but it's the same lighting could have been achieved with just like normal technology, you know. So, yeah, the dude was basically talking about how like modern video game graphics suck, and it turned out that the entire video is just like, I think it was either 15 or 20. It wasn't super long, but I think it was like 15 or 20 minute long video. He basically bitched about how like light is not being properly diffused by the shaders that the developers use in video games these days. And that like completely ruins the fuck out of graphics, because in real life diffuses in a very certain way, and because your brain knows how, like on a certain kind of surface, you know, of the certain degree of glossiness, of a certain degree of maybe wetness, right? A source of light is supposed to be diffusing, right? Like when there's a mismatch, right, between how it should work and how the game actually processes it, it creates the uncanny valley effect basically for you, and ruins immersion and everything. And I was just completely baffled, because okay, what about all the PlayStation 3 games? What about all the PlayStation 2 games? Have that dude ever fucking heard of the art style when you model something relatively photorealistically, or just maybe realistically, you should say, like proportionally, like realistically model something, but then you shade it, stylizing it. You know, you shade it with, like, I don't know, have you ever played a PS2 game? What about something like Uncharted 1? Or any Uncharted game, even 4, pretty much. Obviously, all of those games have quote-unquote realistic modeling, right? I mean, you're not going to fight me on that. But the shading of everything is actually a combination of... like, those games obviously aren't cartoony, right? They don't go for, like, Banjo and Kazooie type of... well, Banjo and Kazooie are modeled cartoony in the first place. But let's think of, I don't know, something like Killer 7, right? Like cell shading. Like Killer 7 obviously isn't shaded realistically, right? It's shaded, well, it's cell shading, but like, let's say it's cartoony, right? It's obviously cartoony. What about like Beyond Good and Evil? Obviously, it's a cartoony game to begin with, although only partially. But like, it's not shaded realistically. Also, it's an Xbox game, so, you know, are you going, like, what are you gonna say? Like, all of the PlayStation 2 games fucking suck now? All the Xbox games are terrible? All the GameCube games are terrible because, like, shaders in those games are not, like, reflecting fucking light properly? Dude, like, most of the lighting in those games was baked in. And it actually, it's gonna be a huge fucking surprise for that dude. Well, baked-in lighting is still being processed, like, on the level, you know, of the programming of the shader, right? Anyway, but you get what I'm saying, right? Like, there was no dynamic lights even. Pretty much no dynamic lights in those games. And, yeah, like, what are you gonna do about games like Uncharted, where Uncharted is obviously a It's a game that's made to look realistic. Aini, come on already. But it's shaded kind of like cartoony. I don't know, like there's probably a word to explain that, right? To explain what I'm trying to get at. But it's the art style where, I don't know, think like GTA 4. GTA 4 is obviously not a photorealistic game when it comes to like how characters look. But the style is going for photorealism, but it understands that it cannot do 100% photorealism, so instead it goes for this like uniquely stylized video gamey look, right? I suppose maybe instead of a cartoony, instead of saying cartoony, I could say something like it's look like a 3D animation, you know, style of shading, where things that otherwise could look photorealistic, they don't have cartoon proportions, they don't look like cell shaded or anything like that, but you can still tell that the creator of whatever is it that you're looking at, you know, deliberately went for the art style that does not process light and just colors in general, which is light, you know, the same way, you know, things happen in reality. That they deliberately went for something a little bit more cartoony, something a little bit more stylized, and you wouldn't normally see it in a 3D cartoon, right? Because those things in those mediums, right? You would, in addition to cartoony shading, you would have like cartoony modeling, right? Cartoony proportions. But in video games, since forever ago, we had the art style of realistic proportions and yet stylized shading that is neither 100% cartoony, but it is most definitely not the developer's best attempt to make the most photorealistic shading possible, right? Uncharted is a very good example. Uncharted 1, like at the time, the hardware and the software available to all of the developers, like you could have done more realistic shading. Like people in Uncharted 1 very obviously look cartoonishly shaded, right? They don't look quite as photorealistic as they could have looked. And okay, so what about all those games? Are all those games fucking terrible? Why are we talking about that topic now? Like, I was just so confused. I watched that video and I'm like, okay, cool, that's, I suppose, a relatively interesting topic. But then toward the end of the video, the dude just like rapid fired through multiple games, including Indiana Slops and The Great Dialysis. And he was like, he specifically even, not just kind of like name dropped the game, but he even said like a sentence about it, you know, that like, oh, the game was, you know, had this like giant problem with its graphics. Dude, Indiana Slops and The Great Dialysis is literally the most impressive, if not literally greatest game of this current generation of slop. Uninspired, just disgusting slop. And all you have to say about it is that fucking, like, skin shaders were bad in it or something. First of all, who even cares about how photorealistic people look in video games? Okay? How about that for a question? Second, I played through the entirety of the game, and I mostly cared about, well, first of all, I mostly cared about the game itself. Second, when it came to graphics, I cared about how, you know, the environments look, because the game is in first person. And it was much more important for me to look at the environments than to, I don't know, look at the characters, you know. At no point I thought to myself, God damn it, if only this game was like 5% more photorealistic, like, it would have been so fantastic. But I just can't stop thinking about missing those, like, you know, extra 5%. And and it just takes me right out of the game. Like, dudes, that video was bizarre. I even left a comment because I was just confused. Like, dude, do you want to maybe try playing video games? If you are so into 3D graphics, why are you talking about video games? Video games are not supposed to be the pinnacle of 3D graphics because you're supposed to be able to play them. If you are into, like, you know, like top-notch, cutting-edge 3D graphics, then you need to be a 3D artist. You need to be an animator, or you need to be just like a 3D sculptor. You know, people who just make 3D art and then they render it for days, you know, and they come up with something that looks truly amazing and mind-blowing, and something that never could have been done, you know, processed in real time, in a interactive, like, you know, real-time runtime of a video game. Like, if that's what you're interested in, why are you looking for this? Why are you dissing video games for not having, like, the most cutting-edge graphics possible? Dude, the most cutting-edge 3D graphics possible are not in video games. They are in, like, 3D, you know, studio art or whatever. How would you even call it? I don't know. You know, it would be the same if I went to, I don't know, I went to see a movie. So I watched a movie and I was like, yeah, you know, the soundtrack, the score was pretty alright, but I would want a little bit more of the score, you know. I would want, like, you know, like complete, you know, tracks with intros, verses, choruses, and solos. And instead, I just got some motifs. I just had an occasional, like, riff here and there, you know, an occasional sting, occasional melody, but, like, no complete songs, you know. And it's like, it's really lacking. It's taking me out of the experience because, like, it's not all the way there. Dude, maybe consider, you know, purchasing, like, an album of whatever music you like to listen to, right? Okay, anyway, so Indiana Slops in the Great Circle of Dialysis. Finally finished it. Did not 100% it, and probably never will, for, I don't know, reasons maybe that I will explain later. But essentially, the game has way too many collectibles, and a specific collectible that is super required to 100% the game. There's even a whole, like, secret quote-unquote ending. It's more like an addendum to the ending. I wonder if it plays if you, like, do it before even finishing the game for the first time. Then it doesn't make any sense if you do it like that, but I assume the game just would let you do it. Or maybe it wouldn't, I don't know. So, the game has way too many collectibles, and the way it does the whole process of collectathoning, in my opinion, it heavily discourages collecting those specific things that are super required for 100%ing. So I've already basically explained that the game kind of... Well, now that I finished the game, I can confirm that the game definitely, although it does not fall apart in the second half, or even the last third, I wouldn't say it falls apart, but it definitely plateaus and gets kind of tedious in that plateauing, kind of like towards the end of your experience. And even I would say pretty much the entire last third of the game is not quite it. So basically, starting from the end of the Giza segment of the game, you have basically one giant uncharted set piece that's like almost hour and a half long. Actually, including the opening set piece of the Thailand segment, the whole thing combined might have been actually about 2 hours. I'm not sure, but runtime of that section was probably something like that. Entirely linear, very Uncharted style. type of thing, and you go from Giza to Himalayas, and then you teleport to Shanghai, and you basically have the scene from Uncharted 2. I remember the Uncharted 2 scene where like Drake is in the middle of some kind of like war situation, war zone, and yeah, and then you go to Thailand, but Thailand also opens with well, it's not Thailand, it's Sukhothai, but I'm not sure what it stands for. I assume Thai in it has some kind of connection to Thailand, because sounds very, very close. Well, anyway, it's definitely Thailand though. So anyway, unfortunately, ever since the game puts itself on the rails of this, you know, getting you out of Giza essentially, and everything that happens after that, the game kind of abandons, it switches priorities, it abandons abandons what it started as, specifically this like layered, systems-driven, exploration-based, choice-heavy, immersive sim light experience. It abandons it towards BioShock Infinite style, just sales pitch of Gina to you. So like the same way like BioShock Infinite, literally the story of BioShock Infinite is that there's Elizabeth and you're supposed to like it. That's it. That's the story of BioShock Infinite. Like it, not literally, but practically that's what the authors, that's what they had on the whiteboard or blackboard, whatever, when they were kind of like coming up with the whole premise. And yeah, so ever since Thailand, the story is basically just about Gina. Gina is constantly on the screen. She never leaves your side, and it's more like you never leave her side. And she is smarter than you. She is wittier than you. She is way more courageous than you, and righteous, of course, than you, and she's also more resourceful, so she's borderline better at you at like punching Nazis. So yeah, you know, the game becomes about that, and well, it's pretty obnoxious, you know, Hollywood style writing for things like that. She does not directly preach any kind of like woke propaganda, I would say, but she definitely nags Indy a lot, just about, you know, how much he sucks basically compared to her, and it gets rather tiring, it gets rather obnoxious in and of itself, but also the game kind of forgets what it was about in the opening half of itself. Once it starts prioritizing basically just building up Gina as the superhero. So essentially the entire Thailand section of the game just ends up being this kind of Ubisoft type experience. And don't get me wrong, the Giza segment was already Ubisloppy, but in Thailand it feels like they've abandoned all notions of having any kind of design or layeredness to locations, because all the camps, like Giza at least had a few like Nazi camps, including one gigantic Metal Gear style Nazi camp that was awesome. There is nothing like that, literally nothing like that in Thailand. There are a few very small camps that are very, very small and very, very kind of linear. There's absolutely nothing to do in there. And in between them, you just, you know, you go around places on your boat, very Far Cry 2 style, and that's it. Like, honestly, there's hardly anything in Thailand. The map in and of itself is big enough, and you could argue that, you know, there are things to find, things to explore, but it's all so surface level. There's hardly any design to it. Like, literally, just think of the biggest camp in Thailand. That's going to be basically the first one you go to steal gold from Voss, so that you can buy the rebreather, right? and that's it. Like, from that point on, there's literally nothing else to do. Like, everything else in Thailand is just these very, very small camps. And even like the final ruin you go to, there's hardly anything around it. It's just one big like camp with, well, not big, it's like this big pyramid, or yeah, it's this big pyramid, around it like a few tents, and then from there it's just a linear segment. So yeah, there's hardly anything to do in Thailand. Thailand basically exists, it literally has 2 missions, by the way. It literally has 2 missions. So the first one, raid the Nazi camp to steal gold from them, doesn't even count, honestly. But even if you do count it, okay, cool. Then you have the giant temple with the giant snake, right? Which is just a walking simulator segment. And then you have another walking simulator segment immediately after that, which is like the final ruins, you know, the ones that Gina only can find entrance to, despite you as a player seeing that the entrance is right here. But you need to stand there like an idiot for a whole minute, you know, wait for Gina to teleport behind you, and suddenly, you know, say, "What is that on the floor? Oh, I see entrance. Oh, Indy too stupid to see." Okay, cool, whatever. So Thailand, honestly, like, if you really loved Giza and Vatican, I suggest you, like, literally just skip Thailand. Just do the just story missions, and that's it. Honestly, it's not worth it. And it's not worth, like, even if you play on the highest difficulty, I raised my difficulty all the way up. I played through the entire game on hard. I bumped it up to very hard towards the end, because it's, yeah, it started to get kind of stupid. So, Pupul, I don't think we went all the way to the back. Like, you know, to the cow area. Wanna go to the cow area? Because I cannot really play with you while I'm talking, and I will probably be talking for about 10 to 15 minutes more. So let's walk a little bit more, because we actually do have time today. Because we are out relatively early today. Yeah, so fun thing, yeah, fun fact. Honestly, I think you would enjoy game more if you did not prioritize exploring to get good and everything. Although I should say, well, okay, Thailand, honestly, Thailand is very shittily designed, okay? Thailand is just boring. Thailand is where the game kind of embraces the Ubisoft experience, and you immediately get Nazi uniform. Well, it's not Nazi uniform, it's the Royal Army uniform. And you can just walk around Nazi camps almost immediately. And so most of your time in Thailand, you literally just like walk around. There are no camps to like in Giza. Most of the time in Giza, you don't have the Nazi uniform, so you actually have to sneak around. You have to sneak into camps. It's very cool, very Metal Gear type experience. And yeah, in Thailand, you immediately get the Royal Army uniform, and you basically just like walk around it. You walk around it for like 6 hours or 8 hours, and that's it. I was like almost ready to literally call it a Ubisoft experience at that point. In fact, I left Thailand without even finishing one of the mysteries, because I was just like, I'm done with this. Like, this is just stupid. You know, I feel like I'm playing Assassin's Creed Origins or something. This is just, well, ironically, I didn't think that when I was playing Giza, but in Thailand, I did feel that way. So, yeah, absolutely. You know, priorities shifted towards selling Gina as the best, most righteous, and most resourceful character ever. So much better than you. So much better than Indy. And like they completely abandoned the the notion of making this absolutely amazing immersive sim light game they started to make, with Vatican, and even kind of carried over to Giza. Most of that philosophy somehow that philosophy even kind of translated into a literal desert, but it could not translate to Thailand. It did not survive the road to Thailand. Exploration-wise, the game is probably one of the most interesting exploration games I've ever played. Like, it's probably like number 2 after Subnautica, or even it shares, with Subnautica, like actual exploration. Exploring things is absolutely amazing. Things are modeled so photorealistically in first person. Everything is proportioned just so immersively. There's no gigantism. Everything is actually pretty claustrophobic. So, that fucking shader guy wouldn't agree with me, but it's modeled very realistically, and it feels very realistically and immersive because of that. It definitely feels like an adventure game, because like you're looking for objects in this whole thing, it kind of, despite having pretty okay stealth system, like the adventure portion of the game actually feels absolutely amazing because of how detailed everything is. I absolutely do not buy into the whole like fucking hate train for calling the game like a walking simulator. Like, have you actually fucking played the game? Well, I understand if you play like DSP, probably on the video game journalist difficulty, and you just literally one punch, like on all the Nazis. Like, yeah, dude, play on the hardest difficulty and go out of your way to play stealthily. Just at least, like, just pretend, just humor me, okay? Just pretend that you have to play stealthily or you're dead. And if you play on the very hard, for Vatican and Giza sections, you don't have to pretend. Okay? And like you're gonna have, like, honestly, maybe not the time of your life in terms of stealth, but I very appreciate it, for one, and considering like the state of video games right now, it's a little bit shallow. It's a little bit like you don't have that many tools. Even for a proper stealth video game, you would want to have a little bit more tools, right, at your disposal. But there is a certain purity to the fact that you literally all you have is just stealth and your fists. Well, you technically also have your whip, but your whip's not gonna save you in Vatican on very hard, okay? Because on very hard in Vatican, so you literally have basically one health bar, and it's not even the big health bar. It's like half a health bar essentially. On very hard, that whole thing goes down in one hit. Okay, so literally 2 hits and you're done. So yeah, you don't have to pretend that stealth is the option you should be taking. And yeah, I had like a stealth time, maybe not of my life, but probably of the last like 10 years or something. Basically, the last game, even remotely in the same ballpark of experience, would have pretty much been like Dishonored, or maybe Prey. Like Dishonored 2 or Prey. I mean, actually, I don't remember when Mankind Divided came out. But it either came out before Dishonored 2 or between Dishonored 2 and Prey. Like, I don't remember when it came out. But anyway, so either of those 3 games, all right, like was the last time you could actually have that type of experience. And in fact, in all of those games, well, again, Prey, you don't really, because, you fight like these fucking paranormal entities. Well, alien entities. So it's either Dishonored 2 or Mankind Divided last time you had experience like that, which was basically 10 years ago. So congratulations. If you're not going to appreciate what Indiana Slops has to offer, then it's just like, do you like fun video games or not? Oh, not? Oh, okay then. Well, go back and play your, I don't know, what do you play? Destiny? Like, good luck. So, yeah. Well, to add a little bit more about the whole exploration situation. Exploration situation is such that there are way too many things to find in the game. There are way too many collectibles. And some of the collectibles aren't really as much collectibles as they are, you know, forms of currency and forms of leveling yourself up. And some of them are basically collectibles. And one of those types of collectibles is very cleverly used in a certain way towards the end of the game, and even once in the middle of the game. I'm talking about the ancient riddles, I think they're called, not ancient artifacts. I keep calling them artifacts to myself. So, but you know, the ones that look like a dildo with a handle, right? So dildo with a handle is absolute cancer to collect, and I will explain why in a second. But everything else in the game, well, you know, the other ones, the ones that are actual artifacts, like artifacts of lost artifacts. Lost artifacts are just kind of like random collectibles, so they're okay. Although, dildos with handles and lost artifacts are, the way you collect them, it's literally the same thing, right? They are all in the same places. It's the same. It's two different types of collectibles, but the game treats them in terms of placing the same. So here's what happens. Medicines, right? Medicines that you need to collect in order to upgrade your either stamina or health, you can only get in Nazi camps, which are pretty interesting, in early game at least, to try to infiltrate and actually steal those things without being seen. So that adds pretty interesting element to the game. I like those. Books are awesome also. Why? Because books is the way you get all those perks, those pretty cool perks. At least they accumulate into quite a collection of very useful perks. You're so overpowered towards the end of the game. But the cool thing is that they are also a form of collectible. So it's not, the game doesn't just give you a list of skills and then level gates them and says, grind, you know, the same repetitive objectives for 15 hours if you want this perk. The game tells you, hey, there are cool books to find in this area. You want to buy a map to all of them, and then you buy a map, and then you go collect all these awesome books that give you these awesome perks. And in order to unlock them all, the game uses experience points that you get from both collecting the same books and doing other optional stuff. So exploration itself is built into everything about the game. And it even interconnects unlocking new skills with exploration. I thought that that chorus, that unity of exploration built into like the process of upgrading the character, upgrading Indy, I thought that that Concord was done beautifully and rather originally too, actually. Because in any other game, there just would have been like knowledge books, right? Oh, you get a book that gives you like +1 HP. Or you find the book that gives you like +100 XP. But no, like this game, actually done it pretty originally and refreshingly, I would say. It's a little bit confusing at first, okay? It's a little bit confusing, and you kind of see, oh, so I need to find the book, and then I need experience points to unlock the perk. But once you start, you know, actually enjoying the game, you know, collecting all the collectible stuff, doing optional mysteries, and optional mysteries are so good. I love breaking those codes. Doing optional quests, it is pretty fun to like prioritize which perk you want. like first. Towards the end, you can have almost all of them, by the way, so don't worry. But at first, it's very interesting to just collect them, see what's out there, and to, like, you know, just decision making. You know, which ones do you want to prioritize? And then Lost Artifacts is basically just a collectible for the sake of being a collectible. And although there are perks to, you know, finding them all. And of course, we have the dildos with handles. Now, dildos with handles is what takes me to the one of the last things I want to say about the game, which are linear segments. The game does have linear segments. And some of those damn collectibles are inside those linear segments. And quite a few of them are inaccessible until you move to a whole other area and unlock something that you don't have yet, like the rebreather. Obviously, you don't have it in Vatican, and you cannot get it unless until you get to Thailand. Or there is a burnable walls even, I believe, in the catacombs portion of Vatican. And there is no need to have there is no way to have a torch. There is no level design way to have a torch at that point. In fact, just before one of those burnable, like doors, burnable walls, the game literally have you like do the whip thing. Like use your whip to get over a big hole in the ground, which makes you literally drop like the last torch I think you had at that point. Or no, the torch would have landed at the bottom of the pit, and you could pick it up and just throw it over it. Actually, maybe I just didn't think about it at that moment. But anyway, there are definitely some burnable walls that you need a lighter, okay? And you don't have lighter in Vatican yet. Sounds ridiculous, but you don't. So basically, if you want to collect all the dildos, you need to go back and retrace those linear segments. And that is just not fun to do. Okay? I'm just gonna go out on a limb and say that has very little to do with the otherwise open nature areas of open area natures of Vatican and Giza. To the point where I eventually decided not even to do it. And there is another thing, by the way, that I want to note about both dildos with handles and Lost Artifacts. The way the map works in those games, you can only track one type of collectible at a time, because they are treated as like side quests, essentially. And you need to choose the side quest in order for those things to pop up on your map. So, in the proper big open areas, you usually can kind of like take your time to open the map and be like, okay, click through different objectives and see if you have any markers near you. But it's quite a process, okay? Opening your map and clicking, through side quests, it takes quite a few, clicks. Doing that often gets a bit tedious, so you kind of end up not doing it all that often, and you end up missing, on certain things. But in the open areas of, again, big open sections of Vatican and Giza, it's not that big a problem to just backtrack a little bit to pick up something that you might have missed. But when you go through a linear level, going back to that linear segment, and the way the game, by the way, shows you that, there are some lost artifacts somewhere below you, and you're like, oh, God damn it, it's probably in that linear section there. Like, do I have to go back there in order to find that thing? Yeah, if you want to pick it up, you have to. Dildos with handles and lost artifacts should have been just permanently on the map once you get the book, once you buy the guide to all of those to those types of collectibles, they should just be permanently on the map. You shouldn't be able to, you shouldn't need to pick the like optional quest in order to start tracking those, or just like select it to see if there's anything around you while you're doing something else. No, they should have been permanently on the map so that you could see at any point in time if there's anything around you worth picking up. But the game doesn't do that. Any stop? God damn it. Okay, let's go do final round here. So I in the end ended up getting, I think, either 27 or 28 dildos, and that obviously was not enough because there's 50 in the game. That's not enough to open the final door. I just looked up what's behind that door because I really didn't feel like redoing the linear kind of like walking simulator adventure segments. And that's one portion of the game that I need. Again, you are already twisted again. That's one segment of the game that kind of makes it not as replayable, is just because there are large sections of the game that are very linear, and I did enjoy them because the overall experience, even of those sections, it's kind of like, you know, when you sit down to play a video game and you realize that you would rather play a video game than watch a movie, but then you are shown the movie and the movie is actually really good, so you enjoy it anyway despite your experience being very linear. And that's what Indiana Jones is. Would I ever replay it? I don't know, maybe if I ever have a machine that can run it on like maxed out graphics. Maybe I would replay it and even go out of my way to collect everything. But because of the Ubislop nature of the last third of the game, such a fatigue sets in with the whole like collectathon that I just kind of didn't want to do it anymore. Like like the whole funnily enough, exploration in the game just gets a little bit tiresome, just because of this combination of, you know, the game expects you to replay linear sections to collect everything, and you really, like, once you do them once, you don't really feel like redoing them for quite a while, like years. Okay? And additionally, yeah, even the last, like, really open area, right? But the last open area, Thailand, is so much lower in quality because the game starts prioritizing basically Gina over this systematic, layered, you know, experience, that it's just kind of like you get burned out a little bit on the whole thing. But the story similarly kind of just like, well, it's not the story, it's just that the game itself, because the priorities shift, the game does fall apart a little bit also towards the end. Like, for example, the final showdown is basically just a movie, but what what leads to that showdown is an extremely short, like literally 1 minute long stealth section. That's like the ultimate last actual gameplay quote-unquote challenge of the game. And you don't even have to play it stealthily, by the way, at that point especially. It's just like a 1 minute long section. And the whole ending stretch of the game is a little bit weak, but I cannot dismiss the game simply on the grounds of the first, like the first 2/3 of the game were absolutely amazing. The DLC, I'll just briefly say, the DLC has basically no mysteries. It has 3 mysteries. One, I couldn't even understand how to get access to it. I suppose there's a note that you have to pick up somewhere so that a wall becomes breakable. I didn't find that note. I ran around the area a little bit. I didn't find anything. I couldn't like start the mystery properly so that I can actually access the area of the mystery. Nowhere near that what seems to be like maybe question mark a breakable wall. There was nothing there, so yeah, whatever. The very first mystery you find almost immediately as you start the DLC, and it's kind of code breaking but not really. And then the winemaking mystery is just a mini puzzle. It's not a code breaking mystery. So yeah. And there are a few optional things to do, but mainly DLC. The DLC is basically just 4 puzzles, 2 of which are cancer, especially the pipe and the bowl. Like, the game just doesn't have the system to handle it properly. It wasn't very difficult. It was very easy to figure out, but like actual physical like realization of that puzzle, it was smart. It was fun to figure out how to do it, but the actual physical like process of solving it was just like the game was not made for that. The final puzzle was okay, I suppose, but it could have been better also. And the only other portion of the DLC is just a giant sewer level. And I understand the appeal. I also understand that maybe for, budgetary reasons, it was chosen to just like do sewers. But I was not a huge fan of that setting, to be honest. Not a huge fan. And story-wise and just feel of adventure-wise, the DLC, however, actually gets the cake in my book because you don't have Gina with you, nagging you the entire time. So you can actually kind of immerse yourself and, concentrate on the whole, like, being Indiana Jones, thing, which I think kind of, like, should be the point, right? And DLC actually delivers on that, so that's cool. And you have an actual boss fight. Who would have thunk? You have an actual boss fight at the end of it. Like, you do have boss fights in the main game, but they are mostly gimmicky boss fights. Like, you could even shoot some of those bosses, and bosses don't even react to being shot. And you cannot even tell, like, I couldn't tell if shooting them actually does any more damage to them, like, as compared to just like punching them. Maybe a little bit more, maybe not more at all, maybe even less. The final boss, you can shoot that boss, and I even think the game probably even intends for you to shoot that boss. I don't know what would happen if you didn't have bullets at that point. I didn't see any bullets around, but maybe if you entered, the game would have just like magically gave you bullets, or they would have, bullets would have spawned somewhere. Like, I don't know. But yeah, actual final boss of the DLC felt like an actual boss of an actual video game, which the base game hardly has any of that at all. So yeah, DLC overall, not 100% what I was looking for, but it delivered on certain things that, like, the second half of the main game kind of abandoned. Unfortunately, it did, in my opinion, a little bit inherited some of the traits of the second half of the main game. But you know what? If you liked overall the base game, DLC you will enjoy as well. You absolutely will. It is definitely better than Thailand, okay? So yeah. And the other game, actually, there must be a bunny there somewhere. The other game I briefly played, actually, and I don't know how far I actually got into it, because I don't know how long it is. It could be long, could be short, like, who knows. I played a little bit of robocope, Unreal Asset Store Flip City Unfinished Business, and I played it for about 3 hours, maybe 4. I got a little bit, I played a little bit to the experience. I think I have enjoyed that. I've enjoyed Unfinished Business probably even more than all of my time with the base game. The whole thing, the gameplay is almost entirely just non-stop action. The writing is just as bad, maybe even, yeah, it's just the architecture, I think. Heini, stop, leave it. Yeah, I don't know how you're gonna get out of there. Maybe go the same way you came in. Yeah, I don't have any final thoughts on it yet. Maybe I'll get to finish it, I don't know, a month from now, 2 months from now, whenever I do. But yeah, strongly recommend it. In fact, I think, at least from what I've seen, right, I actually like it better than the base game. Heini, leave it. He's trying to dig for something. Probably bunny poop. Also gonna have to check him for ticks now. Well, that's about it. As for like a mini update on whatever is it that I'm up to, all the same things I have voiced last time I did one of these videos. Okay, bye bye.